everybody. Welcome to another episode of Disney with the Ducks. This is episode 9, and we are going to be here today talking about all things Run Disney, especially with Run Disney registration coming up for what race?
Marathon Weekend.
Marathon Weekend 2023. So, to get us started, it's your host, Carly, with my sidekick, Jeff. We've got co-host Kevin, Jodie B, Lonnie G, Mean Gene, and Mr. Crawl. And we are all here ready to talk to you today about Run Disney. But before we do, Jeff has some crazy Disney trivia ready to start us off.
That's not too crazy, but we'll see if there's some general information about Disney World. So let's start with you, Kevin. What is the most popular food item in the Disney parks?
Ooh.
Popcorn?
No.
That's probably a good guess, but we're going with a Mickey-shaped ice cream bar.
You know it's got to be Mickey
I'll buy
shape.
that.
Everything's
I'll
better
buy
in
that.
Mickey shape.
All right. Jody, what is the fastest ride at Disney World?
Rock and roller coaster?
You would think so, but it tops out at 60 miles an hour. Test Track actually can get up to 63, 64.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right.
So close.
We have an international traveler here, so we will go with John Crawl for the next question.
I thought you were going with Lonnie because Lonnie also internationally travels, but okay.
John has been to international Disney parks.
So has Lonnie.
What was Lonnie?
Sorry.
Don't
I'm
fuss
still
around.
asking John the question.
It's
Okay.
selling you short. Selling you short.
Mr. Crawl, what attraction is in every single Disney park?
Ooh, that is a very good question. I'm gonna go with the carousel.
Haunted Mansion.
Small World.
Oh my God.
The Haunted Mansion is a variation in different parks, but it's different names. There's a Dumbo flight in every park.
That's exactly the same.
So I'm going off the website, people.
You didn't research these on your own?
I did not thoroughly research these on my own.
Plagiarist.
You're
Yeah.
trusting the internet for your
I am
information?
trusting the internet.
Abraham
It's on the internet. It's
Everything
true.
on the internet.
You know,
is
it's
true.
always
It
wrong.
is true because on the internet.
For sure.
All right, Gene. I know you're not quite as versed as some of the other ones. So
The
I'll take a
answer
little
is
bit-
butterflies.
In what state
Donuts.
is Disney World?
Aw.
Orlando.
There we go.
California.
The answers my students would give.
Is that your final answer, Jim?
Of course not. It's Florida, of course.
All right. And one more easy one for Lonnie is what character makes flight over Magic Kingdom during the fireworks?
Oh, Tinkerbell.
That is correct.
All right, I'm not going to
My
look at the
girl
phone.
Tink.
Tell me one. You don't have one for me?
I don't. What is the anniversary of Epcot? When was Epcot open?
1981.
But what day?
October 1st.
October 1st.
There we go.
Here we go with an assist. I knew it was 81.
girls
because
had to
that's
stick
where I was
together.
born.
And our daughter pointed out that you're older than 3 of the 4.
Right? Yes. She did point out that I am older than 3 of the 4 Disney parks. So that was sweet of her.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now that we've gotten to know Disney a little bit better, or our lack of knowledge of Disney, maybe, why don't we go around and talk about why all of us love Run Disney races, or maybe don't love Run Disney races? I don't know. I guess I'm assuming things and I shouldn't do that. We all know what that does. But also what your experience is with Run Disney races. So let's go in reverse order. John, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so my experience with Run Disney races started with Princess in 2019. I ran the 5K with my son Caleb and my oldest child Kara. So the 3 of us ran the 5K that weekend, and I just loved it. I mentioned it on a previous episode, but we had some issues with health around Caleb. He had pneumonia, and it definitely made it quite an experience. I had to carry him for about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile, something like that. But it was just so fun to run it with my kids and see the characters and see the park in the morning that early and everything. It was just awesome. So the next year when we went back, I ran the Princess Half, and that just running up Main Street and seeing the castle was one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. So that made me really want to run the full marathon. And I figured if I was ever going to run a marathon, the only place I'll do it is Disney, because it just combines two things I love: the running and the actual parks and everything themselves. So, you put running and Disney together, and it was just amazing. So that's, I think, why I do it, is because I love everything about Disney so much, and I love running. And you put the two together, and it's kind of like a perfect marriage there. And you wouldn't think necessarily that they would go together so well, but running through the parks and getting to see parts of the property that you don't get to see, some of the backstage areas. And then just the camaraderie, right? Because we've mentioned before, all of us are part of the Lizards group. And I think that meeting that group of people and coming together in the way we support each other and everything really is, there's a community behind it that you don't get with a lot of other activities, especially at Disney World. A lot of it's, within your own family and that type of thing. And it's all super fun. But this, you have people from all different types of backgrounds, from different areas of the country, from different races, different religions, everything, and we all just get together and we have a great time, and we talk about running, and we help support each other through life's ups and downs too. So it's that's kind of what really pulled me in to run Disney even more than I already was after I ran that half at Princess 2020, right before everything shut down. And then I got more involved with the Lizards and just the Run Disney community in general. And yeah, after running the marathon last year, it's I would love to run it every year if I could.
So how many Run Disney races have you done?
So I've done 3 live ones, and then my kids have also done the mile race for Princess Weekend, and like the little diaper one. I forget what they call it, but it's like a 100-yard dash or something around the track one time. So we've done those kids races, we've done the Princess race, and then we've done Marathon Weekend.
That's awesome. I am laughing right now because at the same time I ask you that, Lonnie knows that his question is coming, and he has turned around looking at this enormous metal display rack on the wall, counting an exorbitant amount of medals. Like, I think he had to take his shoes off.
He's going to need an abacus.
Stolen valor.
Exactly.
I question the validity. Stolen valor.
All right, Mean Gene, we're going to give Lonnie a little bit more time to count his medals. So tell us about your Run Disney past.
Yeah, I shared this, I think, on a previous podcast when we talked about Marathon Weekend, but I had never really run much. I was always a fat kid that didn't like to run. But when I ran for fitness, just to be healthy. And when I was 35 or so, I ran 5 miles for the first time. And I don't know, it was long after that. Lonnie called me one day and he said, "Hey man, let's go run this race at Disney." I'm like, "Dude, that's really, you don't even run." And he said, "Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great. It'll be fun. Disney, Star Wars." I'm actually wearing my Dark Side Challenge t-shirt. And so this is actually the first race that I did, was the Dark Side Challenge. And it was a lot of fun. As I was doing the training, Lonnie introduced me to the Lizards and met people, virtually, and then went to the races. And, as everybody knows, Lonnie's my best friend. We've been friends for 20 years, and we have never lived in the same town. There's an opportunity for us just to hang out, but to hang out at Disney and to hang out, and do some races. I really, really enjoy the events. I enjoy. John mentioned the camaraderie. I love people. If there are people involved, that's my passion. It's why I do what I do. As far as work, everything. The worst thing I can ever do is just be stuck alone by myself. I love social stuff, and so it's a great opportunity for that. Great group of people, great motivation, great encouragement. I absolutely hate the training, though. I hate it. Every time I've done a race, I'm like, I'm not doing this crap again. I'm not. No. When you're, running for 4, 5, 6, whatever, doing the training, and your family's doing something else around Christmas time, and you've got a Saturday or a Sunday dedicated to a long race, I'm like, I'm not doing this crap again. But then you go to a race and you have so much fun, and your feet are killing you, because you've run, and then you want to walk, and hang out at the parks, but then you crossed the finish line and you ran with you didn't think you could do it. You were undertrained. Other people you ran with were undertrained, and they were able to do it. And everybody's, emotional, and it's just such a cool deal. No, I mean, not me. I'm not emotional, but other people are. And it's just such a cool experience. And so it makes you want to do it again. And it's, that's the reason we're all together here, because we had a chance to meet And these are the kind of relationships you're able to form and develop through these events. It's just a cool thing. And I love it. It's awesome.
So how many have you done?
Oh, how many have I done? I've done 10 individual races, Dark Side Challenge, and then Dopey.
Nice.
So not 10 different times to Disney, just 3 different times to Disney, but 10 individual races.
But still, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
All right, Lonnie, did you have time to count your medals?
Yes, I studied and know the assignment.
I'm waiting.
For
How many races have you done in Disney?
13.
Wow.
13, well,
13 weekends?
12 challenges. And
Oh my
Castaway
goodness.
Key, which was still a Disney event, right? That's a whole different run, which is pretty fun, but 13 different challenges.
So you have more than 13 medals on that wall back there, for
Yes.
sure.
So it's usually when I do a challenge, I do all the races. So it's, the 5K, 10K, half, and you get the challenge medal. So yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
So
And to this point, I mean, I started Disney late in life, right? So I didn't go when I was a kid. So I went, I think my son was 6, my daughter was 3 on my first trip to Disney. So started late, didn't know anything about Run Disney, but really just got hooked on Disney and started, doing research and all that kind of good stuff. So we're coming up on another trip. And I started listening to podcasts, and I came across the Be Our Guest podcast. So listen to that. And I also was listening to this other podcast when they talked about Run Disney or the Dark Side Challenge coming to Orlando, right? And this was 2016. And I remember saying, I literally paused the podcast and called Gene and said, hey, Gene, dude, you like Star Wars. I like Star Wars. There is a Star Wars race coming to Disney. And he's like, what? I said, a Star Wars race, man. Look, we need to go and run this race. And Gene's like, all right, what race we're going to run? I'm like, dude, all of them. You don't get it. We're running all of them. If we're going to go down there and we're going to invest in this, we're running everything.
And I'd never run a half before that.
Yeah, neither did I. And Gene actually said that. He's like, dude, you don't even run. I said, dude, I know, but it's Star Wars and it's Disney. I said, so literally, man, I don't care. I said, we need to go do this event. And I think we talked about the first registration because I didn't know anything about the whole registration process. And it was like the Hunger Games. And, I got on and I remember, I was sitting at his coffee shop and I said, you know what? I was talking to somebody and I said, let me get on here. I'm going to register for this race. So they were going up to get some coffee. I was like, just give me a second. It won't take but a minute. And I got on. This was 2016, right? And I was like, wait, this is not as easy as it's supposed to be. Hold on. And I'm sitting there and I'm starting to panic. And I called Gene. I'm like, Gene, are you registering? He's like, nah, I'm gonna do it tonight. I'm like, no, man, you can't do it tonight. Get on right now.
And what happened?
And he didn't get in. But so we're gonna do the challenge. He got in for the half. And he said, man, which race did you get in for? I say, all of them, man. I say, I got in at like 98%. And my stuff came up and I got in. And so I said, dude, you need to find a way to get into these other races. I said, I don't care what, you need to do something. And he was able to get in.
Yeah, I know it's your time, but I happened to be at Disney in Orlando for work. And I was just hanging out at Disney Springs and I went to the running store and I was talking, I'm coming back to run this race. And the girl working in there is like, yeah, I'm part of this club. And I was able to get a bib that way. And I was like, ooh. And so I did some research. I joined the club. They got me a bib. So I paid Disney twice. I paid Disney for the individual race and the challenge. I wrote them a letter. They told me to but I didn't get any money back.
No. Disney said, thank you for your support.
Yep.
So we ran that race and that was our first time, doing the research. I came across the lizards. I said, Gene, we need to join this group. They're going to have a bunch of people running this race. Went there for the first time and was like literally hooked. We ran, Gene and I trained, we ran around the lakes at LSU a couple of times, it gave us an excuse to get together and kind of hang out, right? So, but when we got there to the race, I think we might've ran, 6-8 miles and we were like, yeah, we're done. We're good. We're ready for this race. And I remember after the race was over, we were like limping back to the bus and some of these, some person had a big medal on. It was like, hey man, I asked him, how did you get that Millennium Falcon medal? And he says, well, if you run on, at Disneyland and at Disney World, you get a medal, this special medal. And I looked at Gene, I was like, dude, he's like, no. All right, then. I said, that's on you. So I remember calling Gene like a month later. I was like, hey, dude, there's another race. It's the Wine and Dine. Let's register for that. He hung up on me. So I was like, you know what? Boom. So I did the next one, that same 2016. I did Wine and Dine. And then I registered for Star Wars in 2017. So I did the Kessel Run and did both of those. And then just been on the tear, just registering every race I can get my hand. I was lucky. The odds were in my favor, and I convinced Gene to do Dopey, our first Dopey.
But before that, you'd run a couple of different races. You went to Paris.
I was there.
Everywhere. He was all over the world.
Yeah, I went to my
Hong Kong, Mars, everywhere.
I didn't go to Mars. I didn't go to Hong Kong yet, but I remember saying, telling my wife it was some kind of I don't know if it was an anniversary trip. Edit that out if I wasn't supposed to know it's my anniversary. But I remember saying, she said, hey, I want to go to London and Paris. And I was like, good idea. And I was like, let's go in September. And she's like, my anniversary in March. I'm like, yeah, but let's go in September. And she was like, all right. I'm like, boom. I said, well, look, I need, we can go to London and Paris, but I need just 3 days to do something. And she's like, what? I'm like, to run this challenge. That's it. That's in Paris. She was like, she gave me a little bit of pushback, but then she ended up running the 5K and all that. So why I run Disney, I tell you, I think it's the camaraderie with everybody. They do a great job of putting the race on. I know you can always find fault in something, right? But I think overall, just the people that you get to meet. Gosh, look, we met at a Run Disney event, right? So it's that, just it makes the miles go by, really good, right? And it gives me an excuse to train to do something because I get to combine two things: going to Disney and hanging out with people. I hate running. I'm probably the only person on this group here that hates. I hate every aspect of running. The only Run Disney keeps me running to train for it. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't run at all.
I hate it often.
He makes me all the time when I say, dude, I got to go for a run. I actually hate running with a passion, but I do love Run Disney, so I'm going to keep doing it. But so that's my Run Disney story.
That's awesome. I love how all of you so far have mentioned that this is how we met, and like you're all rethinking your life choices now. All right, Jodie.
My life choices mean Gene 20 years ago. It's crazy.
All right, Jodie, tell us your story.
So I have not run nearly as many races as Lonnie, but I got started with Run Disney, and he mentioned it. So I went and found my medal. The Castaway K5K was Key 5K was my very first Run Disney race, technically. This is a nice plastic medal, by the way. So that was on a Disney cruise. We decided to go run that race. And I didn't start running until I was almost 40. And my girlfriend sent me a text and said, hey, I want to go run Princess. I know you love Disney and I know you love running. I'm like, well, I don't know that I love running, but I've run. And she's like, you want to go run it with me? And I'm like, yeah, another excuse to go to Disney. So she and I registered for a Princess race, and I did the 5K and challenge. And then shortly thereafter, I started registering for more, and then roped my husband in, which he's a little bit of a different runner. He's a little more competitive. He runs for speed and time and pace. And I was like, so this Run Disney stuff is for fun. Your PR is and fun, and you have to have fun. Do you understand that? So I drug him along to Dopey, well, actually to Wine and Dine and Dopey this past year. And we had a heck of a good time. So we did all 4 races, marathon weekend, and we had also done Wine and Dine 2021, all 3 races for that. So I've done Princess, Wine and Dine, and marathon weekend. I have not done any of the spring surprise or Star Wars weekends or whatever the variation may be in the springtime. So one day we'll get there. That's our Run Disney story.
Next year, we all go down for the spring race. Yes. Maybe not you because it's tax season, but the rest of us will all have a blast. Jeff can stay at home.
We'll leave Jeff at home.
Right? He can make the money. I'll go spend the money. Yeah. All right, Kevin, tell us your Run Disney story.
Okay, so mine, I've kind of hit on a little bit. I think I have kind of a similar story as some of the others. High school, I ran cross country to get in shape for baseball. I really liked that, but I'd never done more than 4 or 5 miles at a time. And then, being the Star Wars nerd that I am and following everything Star Wars, I saw a post online that there would be a race. And I'm like, can I do a half marathon? That's a long way. And said, I will for Star Wars. So I signed up for that. And that was my first Run Disney race. I went down by myself, ran it by myself. Didn't know about the lizards, didn't know about anything. So ran the race. I had a blast. It was great. So that's what got me started at Run Disney. But I started seeing lots of groups together. It's like, what are all these green shirts? What is this? Is it some kind of, club or what is it? So started doing some research, found out about the lizards, started getting in on that. Then I found out that each race, I believe every Run Disney race has a charity component. And I always wanted to get involved with that. Always been a big part of St. Jude for that. That's a charity that I've kind of followed along with most of my life and had some friends that have been through that. So for me, that was my charity. And honestly, I mean, they were involved in just about every race. So my second Star Wars weekend was with them, and every race since then has been pretty much with that charity. So I really liked that part, and then started getting to know more lizards and getting more involved. And the more I broke out of my shell, the more friends that I've made, and it's just exploded from there. I've done 3 Star Wars weekends. I ran the marathon. This was my first marathon in 2017. Then I've done 3 Dopey weekends, and I did a virtual. I kind of cheated for the Millennium Falcon medal in 2018, I believe. They had canceled. Lonnie, correct me if I'm wrong. They canceled the West Coast race, so the only way to get that was to run the Kessel Run. To get the medal is to run a virtual half. So I signed up for a local race and actually ran it locally to qualify for that race. So basically Star Wars, I ran just about every weekend that they had in Florida. And then, of course, now I'm hooked on Dopey and hoping to be able to run Dopey again in 2023. Got a bib reserved and I'm ready to go. That's my story.
All right.
Hey, can I at this point, everybody's talked about charities. It might be something we want to get into later, but I want to know more.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
For sure. That's on my list.
Yeah, I think that's a good topic.
Yes, we will definitely talk about that.
The list I should have read that you sent out, or just a mental list?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay.
Lonnie printed his.
Right.
I did look over it. I just don't have it in front of me.
Maybe Lonnie could fax it to you.
I'll take a picture of it.
Fire up the fax.
Or you could just go into the notes that
I could do that
and look at that. Either one is easier for you.
There's a lot there.
So I guess our Run Disney started a little differently. My first Run Disney event was in 2014, right?
Wow.
It was I did the Castaway Key 5K. We didn't get the cool little rubber medals like you did. We got the little Mickey hat with this says winner on it. Was what they give out at the end. So yeah, it was pretty hot that day. I think any day there's pretty hot to run a 5K, and there's no shade cover. That was my first event. My second Run Disney event was the Yacht and Beach Club fun run around the lake. Then we did the boardwalk one the next day.
No, we did that. We also did the Hilton Head.
That wasn't the same. That was a different weekend.
Sorry.
That was 2019. We did that one. And then in 2020, we did the Star Wars Rival. Oh, no, that one was canceled. That was the first one we were supposed to do, and it was canceled on site.
But we did it virtually.
We did. We ran them all virtually.
And we did it
the Chewbacca medal.
back to back to back on the correct weekend and everything.
Yep. And then we did the Wine and Dine in 20. No, we didn't do that one either.
All of our Run Disney races have been canceled except Dopey Marathon 2022 was the very first live event that we actually got to do on Walt Disney World property. So Why do you love Run Disney?
I like getting up at 2 a.m.
Don't we all?
Well, that's the best part.
I love being sore and exhausted, completely non-functional.
No, miles. I think running, if you're running an event, you can't have a better production than what they put on, and you can't have a better place for it. But the miles just fly by because of the friends you make down there.
Mm-hmm.
And then just knowing a few guys ahead of time, then meeting up with a few guys while we're down there. I think that's for me why I do Run Disney. So,
aw, you guys are all cute and like, oh, we're all friends. All right. I like 3 things in my life so much. I love Disney, I like clothes, and I like jewelry. And Run Disney races, I get the shirt, I get the swag, and I get the on Disney property feel. So that's it. I mean, yeah, friendships, yada, yada. That bling, that shirt. Yes, please. So, all right. Well, let's get into the heart of the show, which is all about tips and tricks. And we kind of touched on the idea of registration. And, I'm going to let some of you who have done the scary, scary, crazy registration talk, because I always get a free pass. Jeff always does it for me. So I have never experienced the crazy registration. And I know, Jean, you asked about charities, and that's the other way that we've gone about things and avoided the scary registration process. Did we want to start out with the easy route, which is charity?
We have experience with charity. Obviously, this episode is dropping the Tuesday before registration actually releases. So next week is whenever you guys need to start registering for Marathon Weekend. But I'm actually already signed up as of several weeks ago. We got an email from our charity that we run through, which is the Scott Carter Foundation. And she said that the bibs have already been contacted by Run Disney. They don't have their official contract signed, but they've been told that they have the bibs. Just how many do you need? We emailed her back. As long as we emailed her by a certain date, our name was on the list. She'd requested a bib. So I don't have to be one of those people who are freaking out trying to get on the 19th, Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock or a few minutes before registration queue opens. I know my bib's secure. The other side to that is, though, you do have to fundraise for the charities. And there's plenty of charities out there that do this. They all have different fundraising goals and commitments. They offer different things. So some of the charities will give you packages and different things down there. So you just kind of research that out a little bit and see what they have available. And
yeah, we had to do a lot of research last year whenever we were looking at Dopey 22 because he was stressing about getting a bib and I didn't want to deal with the stress. We went the route of the charity after we researched quite a few. And that's how since we went with Scott Carter last year, that's how we got on Scott Carter's email list. So you don't have to be on their email list to go through a charity. You can just reach out like we did last year and say, hey, we're interested. Do you guys have bibs available? And they'll come back and let you know, yeah, we do, or we won't know until this date. And so you at least have that contact that opens up. I know, Kevin, you also go through, you said St. Jude.
I do. Yeah, so I do the charity. And one thing I'll add to that is you can, if you look at some of the races that have already passed, you can actually look at what list of charities are on each race. Sometimes those lists go up, change and things like that. But I will say that there are some charities that will just do wine and dine. Some will do just Marathon Weekend. So whenever you're looking at charities, some of them may not cover all the races. Some may cover one and not the other. So just kind of look and do some research and just search online. There's lots of ways to find those. And once you found one like that and you get in the list, they'll usually let you know, like they did with Jeff, on when bibs are available. I've gotten mine reserved as well. I think it's in the last few days, a lot of the charities have gotten that notification from Run Disney that they've gotten this many bibs reserved, different packages for different things, different fundraising goals. So definitely check it out, especially if there's a charity that you'd like to support, because I mean that's always, you're kind of giving back with as well as going to a race.
So how about the rest of you as far as registration goes? How have you registered? Is it through Charities? Is it regular registration? What registration tips you got? Lay it on us.
So for 2022 marathon, it was going to be my first marathon, and I didn't want any chance of missing that. So I ended up going the charity route as well. And there was still spots open for the marathon, like a week or two after registration opened. But to me, it was well worth, the effort to go out and fundraise to eliminate that stress, especially because at that point I'd already bought my plane tickets, and secured my hotel room. So, I went the charity route there just to make sure that nothing could go wrong, right? And it was worth it. It was fun fundraising. It was a great organization that helps out folks that really need it. So, it was a great thing all around for me. I've done it before, registering all of the races that you guys mentioned, Jeff and Carly, that were canceled in 2021. I had registered for all of those as well. And so, you get the panicked 9:45 a.m. and you're, in the middle of a work meeting, and I'm trying to register on a RunDisney site while still presenting something in a meeting at work. And if my boss is listening to this, that didn't really happen. I handled that separately. But you have to juggle all those things because it's in the middle of a work day, right? So that's stressful enough, and you have to be aware of what time it is and watching that screen to make sure that as soon as it pops up and it gives you that option to register, you got to be ready to go, or else, especially if you're looking for a 5K, those are going to sell out super quick. A lot of the longer distances are the dopey, maybe those last a little bit longer, but the 5Ks are gone.
That's a good point.
Yes.
So that's something that you really got to think about is make sure you're on there a half hour or so early and just start refreshing the Disney site until the registration comes up. Because sometimes they do open it a few minutes early.
Yeah,
they do.
So yeah.
So about the 5Ks going fast. I also read that a lot of the anniversary year things go quicker too. So
That's
any
true.
event with an anniversary. So
And
marathon
we've got-
weekend
this year,
it's a triple
And this one will
anniversary.
be,
It's a
it'll
triple
be an anniversary for marathon and for dopey, right?
and the 10K.
Right.
And the 10K.
Yep, it's a triple.
yeah. I think a lot of the 5Ks go quick because a lot of families run those
Right.
together, so you can get younger kids who can run those. So a lot of the 5K registrations go faster. So I'm going to give you guys a little peek behind the scenes of our messy office. So Tim and I share an office, and this is like my space and his space. If you can see all that, Tim and I work back to back. In one office space, and during registration day, it's pure chaos. We have 4 laptops, 2 iPads, and 2 phones going at all speeds trying to register. This past dopey registration happened. That's great, Jodie. Happened to occur when we were on summer vacation and we were in Boston. We were supposed to have checked out our hotel room and started driving up to Vermont earlier that day and left our hotel later so we could have the Wi-Fi access of the hotel room to register before we left for Vermont. So we completely delayed our vacation just to register for marathon weekend. So it is a little crazy. It does add a little bit of extra stress that's not necessary. I will say with the charity bibs, make sure you do your research. There's a wide gap of the charity registration requirements. So, and some of them are already booked up. So I remember reaching out to a couple that had already been secured from people who had registered the year before. So, just do your research, spend a little bit of time, figure out, what's available and what's not, but find a charity that's near and dear to your heart and go that route if you're interested. But my recommendation on registration day is have all the devices and all the different browsers available too, because Safari, Chrome, Firefox, I don't even know what else is out there, but they all work differently. So that's my advice. And good luck.
I'll add that something that I don't think a whole lot. I don't know if any of us have this. I know I don't. But Club Run Disney actually has like an early registration. I don't think I've ever met anybody that's actually part of that, but I'm sure there are some people. But they do get to register early. In the past, they gave BBC and pass holders, I think, an early registration, which
Really?
hopefully they'll bring that back sometime. But
yeah, and Kevin, you make a good point. The Club Run Disney thing, and even for registration for marathon weekend, it was only available for the platinum members. So you can even
Really?
silver and gold. They didn't get the option to early register. Only the platinum did, and that platinum is basically probably the price of Adobe itself. But I've never registered through a charity. You guys have me very interested in doing that. Usually, to Jodie's point, I usually get on the waiting room, so to say. It usually opens up 10 minutes ahead of time. You'll see on some of the Run Disney Facebook groups or even the Lizards where we are members, they'll say, hey, the lobby is open, right? And you get in there and you kind of wait. The thing about it is when it hits 10, Disney shuffles all that around, right? So you can be in there early, but still, prime example for Dopey 2022. Gene and I were both on. I was on before him. I called him and said, hey, man, the lobby is open. Hop on in. He said, okay, I'll get in there, man. Give me a couple of minutes. I think he got on 5 minutes before registration. He ended up registering before me. So
oh my gosh.
I mean, and he lives in, so it's crazy, right? So it came on and he's like, oh man, it tells you, right? It has a countdown. You have 15 minutes. I was like at 40 minutes. So I was like, this is crazy. I was on way before you. Gene registered, but and then, Gene has my password and everything. He said, hey, want me to register you? I said, yeah, let's go ahead and register. Right. So he has that. So you can have that as well. If you have some friends that you're close to, that kind of doubles your chance of getting a bid for a particular race. Another thing that
hold on, I've got a question about that. So if that is the case, what information does somebody need to know of yours to register you for the race? Good
question. So the first thing is you have to have, and when you start registering, I guess we should go back to the beginning. You need to start and get yourself in a Run Disney race account, right? They're free to get an account. You go in, you enter all your information. It's kind of like having a My Disney experience, right? But it's for Run Disney. So you start the Run Disney account, makes it easy for you to register, right? So you need that. And I suggest everyone gets that before any race they start, because if not, Run Disney doesn't hold your place in line. So if you're sitting there typing all this kind of stuff up there are people behind you. And when that race sells up, it's done. So get your Run Disney account. I gave Gene my password for that. And okay, you can say, Lonnie, that's crazy, but Gene has my credit card information too, right? So he can go in.
You give that to somebody you trust, right?
Exactly. You don't give that to anybody.
Yeah. Gene registered us on you earlier too.
Yeah. So Gene was like, hey man, I registered for the race and I put a down payment on the Tesla. It's just there.
There you go.
Literally. So Gene has all that. He's able to sign it for me and he took care of it. And after he registered for me, I got the email saying it was done. It was another 10 minutes before my spot came up. Right. So it's just,
I don't know why I got in so quick.
Lonnie, works. I have a question, Lonnie. So is it the same login and password for your My Disney experience and your Disney Plus and your Disney Cruise Line? Because mine's all the same, and I have to admit that I don't know. Is it all is it the same for all of those?
It is for me.
I made it the same for mine. I don't know if it is across the board because I had a different My Disney Plus password and I went in and changed that. I guess I shouldn't say that. No, mines are all different. It's all the same now, right? So if it's
all through your My Disney
and everything. So Disney will probably log on,
I'm canceling Disney Plus now.
But it is the same now across the board.
I'm just thinking for new people who are registering for Run Disney for the first time, if it's easier, if it's my Disney experience, Disney Cruise Line, Disney Plus, etc., etc.
It is for me. My MDE, whenever I click on it to log into my Run Disney, pulls all my MDE information and my DVC information all at the same time.
Mine's that way too.
And just anytime it changes one, they all change.
Okay, so maybe that's something. Hey, I hate to say it, but mine's more face activated now anyway. So when I get in, it just looks at my face and pops up. So I probably need to look what it is. So Gene probably knows my password because he logged in for the last race, right?
No, so he said something about me having. It's not like I have his credit card for just. We're not that close, but for this instance, he gave me the information because I was able to get in.
You sent him shopping for lingerie.
I'm offended. So anyway, my wife's like,
some new hocus.
I'm like, I have no idea. Gene, and she's like, why would Gene have your credit card? And I'm like, I have no smart answer for that. So get on. You be there, 10 minutes ahead of time or whatever. You put all your information in. another registration tip, if you're giving some tips, you go down and there's an opportunity to put what your anticipated time to finish the race. Do not do that, right? So because while you're in there messing around with that, the places are the slots are starting to kind of like tick down, right? So I usually just put do you expect to finish? I just click yes. I put any time. I don't look for an official time, because you can go back and edit that after, right? So
That's right.
you get straight through it. Just select your shirt size, because Carly likes the shirts, and you pay and you get out, and you can always go back and then change some of those things like
That's right.
time and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, you can change your shirt size and
You
everything.
can. You
So
can.
fast
Even at the
forward
race,
a long
when you get there, even when you get to the race, you can change it if you mess up on
that wasn't always like that, because I got some big shirts one time and I wasn't able to swap them out.
Yeah, but so Gene did on this last one, gave me the wrong shirt size. I told him, but obviously he wasn't listening when I was telling him what to put. So I got there, and to Kevin's point, I was able to change them out. But you got to be careful, because if a lot of people changing shirts, who knows how many they have. So,
That's true.
but yeah, so that's it. Get in early. We can say some of the little smaller things as we get close to it, like don't refresh. Just follow instructions on the screen. The key is you want to get through it and register, and you can always go back in. It's always a challenge when you have to register more than one person as well at the same time, right? So that's why it's good, to Jodie's point, to have multiple computers out, because you'll get some in at the same time. Even though it doesn't hold your spot in line, you can still navigate to register another person.
So I've got a question on that. Jeff and Carly, whenever you guys registered for a 5K, right, with multiple people, if everybody is in the same account, can you do that all together, or do you have to do 3 separate?
Nope. Once I was in, I went through, I put all my information in. It said add another participant. I put all of Riley's information in, add another participant, put all of Carly's in. I paid one time, checked out.
Is that because we're friends and family, or
no?
is that
I can register anybody I want.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So, but doing 3 at a time, though, there's other people.
Longer.
It just takes longer. But for us, it was all or none. If I got in and they didn't for some reason, I'm not going back out. So it was an all or none for the family on that.
I would take out his kneecaps.
Oh,
really excited by that Coco medal.
Now I will say this though, and this is usually for challenges, right? So I think John made a reference to challenges, kind of, they don't sell out as quick as some of the individual races, right? Because you got to be dopey to run dopey, right? So sometimes, but if your challenge is sold out, there are times when Disney will release additional bibs, because even for dopey this year or in 2022, when it sold out, it took a look, I think maybe 3 or 4 days to sell out of dopey, but yet still you went back in. And I remember, being on Facebook, and somebody will post new dopey bibs out, right? And they'll release like 50 more or something like that, right? So you still have an opportunity. Don't lose hope if the challenge that you want is gone. I don't think that's the case with the 5K though. I've never seen them release more 5K bibs, but I have seen them release more challenge bibs.
We talked about this earlier, but my first race, I wasn't able to get in, and I joined a club. And actually, the way I was able to get that bib is that it wasn't a charity; it was just a club. But that charity has a certain number of bibs allocated to them, and so I actually bought my bib from someone else. And you can't do that normally with just a bib off the open market. It can't be transferred. But within the clubs and possibly with the charities too, I would think it's the same type of thing. The bibs are able to be transferred.
Nice.
And then the second race that I did,
a little different, I think, so they can do that. But you're right, Gene. That's a good point. Run Disney. I can't say, okay, I'm not going to run this. I'll like to give it to Jeff. They'll say, okay, no.
Yeah. And second race, second challenge I did, or the first dopey I did, I went through that club as well. And then for whatever reason, we didn't think that we'd have a problem. And so I just registered, or tried to register the normal way, and it worked out. But, it sounded like this last registration that somebody did, it was pretty busy. They sold out pretty quick. So I don't know what I'm going to do with dopey. I hadn't made a decision yet, but if I register.
I really believe that last year was a little different, right? Dopey took about a week to sell out. But what happened? Okay, so usually the dopey training is 28 weeks. They opened registration, and you were actually well into training, right? So with everything that was going on with
the pandemic,
the great unpleasantness, or whatever you want to call it. Or, a lot of people just maybe not felt comfortable going. To Kevin's point, this is the 10-year anniversary for
Dopey.
This is the 30th anniversary for the marathon. I think our very first Dopey was the 25th anniversary, Gene, and you remember that sold out pretty quick, right? So anniversaries usually, sell out pretty quick, and it's the 10K might be it's a triple anniversary, which those come across kind of rarely, right? So I think this year, I mean, I'm not Nostradamus or anything, but I think it will sell out. Actually, I'm Lonnie Damas. I think it'll sell out quicker.
Well, I know what you had tried to sign up for 2021.
But that was a different year too, though. That was a different animal with reduced field sizes and things like that. Too.
Right. But I mean, it's not uncommon to come across posts in, the BOGP lizards or on Facebook, or to run into people that say, I didn't get in. I didn't. So I will choose the charity route every time, just for the sake of peace of mind. Don't have to worry, but I totally get also some of those are pretty pricey, the amount of money that you have to raise. So
you had mentioned, Lonnie, that for last year that we were already into the training cycle. So I think that's a good segue into talking about some of the training tips and stuff for this as well. So I know me personally, and I think a lot of you guys follow the Galloway training plan, and that starts in the end of the last Tuesday of June this year.
Do you want to talk a little bit, somebody, about what the Galloway method is for anybody who's never heard of it?
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go on.
So basically the Galloway method mixes running and walking. So you take some walk breaks, but at set intervals. So you don't just run until you're tired and then walk for a minute and then start running again until you get tired. So basically you'll set up your intervals ahead of time and say, okay, I'm going to run 60 seconds. I'm going to walk 20 seconds. And then you keep that cadence up for the entire race. So what that does is kind of gives your muscles and your legs a little bit of time to recuperate, a little bit of time to rest, and then you get back into your run again. So that's a method I think that I used for the marathon to get me through. And to be honest, actually, I used that for my PR for a half marathon when we met up in Toledo, Jeff and Carly and Jodie. That was my first time using that method for an actual race, and I set a PR. So, I think it is helpful, especially if you're a newer runner or like myself, a big guy who just, there's a lot of weight coming down on my legs, and they need a break once in a while. So this kind of gives them that set break throughout the race and kind of keeps me going and keeps the energy level high.
And I'll add to that, somebody that is used to constant running, it takes some getting used to do the walking. But it definitely will save your legs, and it works. It really does work.
I will also add that the training program you can find on the RunDisney website, and I like to print mine off, the Dopey Challenge calendar.
Oh, look at that.
You and Lonnie and I will say last year, week 1 started June 28th. For those of you who are listening, I'm holding up my little calendar, but June 28th is when it started, but we didn't register until mid to late July last year because of the pandemic situation. So June 28th is when week 1 started. It did go through all 28 weeks. But the Galloway method, what I appreciate about it is I'm a rule follower and I'm a planner. So if you tell me I have to go out and run 8 miles that week, I'm going to do my best to go run those 8 miles and put that check mark next to that. Now, there's obviously some things that happen, right? Life happens. Everything isn't perfect, but it's nice to have a plan. And I absolutely, truly believe that any of these races, whether you're doing a couch to 5K as your very first race, or if you're going to go try to tackle half marathon, Dopey, any combination thereof, if you follow one of these Galloway plans and you follow the plan, you're gonna be totally fine. I just believe in it, and I think you're gonna be, whether you walk, or you run, or you skip or hop or crawl. I don't care what you do, but if you have a plan, you're gonna be okay. So highly encourage you to go to the RunDisney website, look at the training calendars, and there's more than just Galloway. There's
Higdon
other
has a
names.
good plan.
Higdon has a good plan. There are several, but to your point, Jodie, I like the Galloway plan.
Right.
Yeah.
It's you come across and you finish, you're a lot fresher, right? I mean, and to Jodie's point, I like having something I can print out. Gene make fun of me, but I like having something I can print out and I can check off saying, okay, I did this run, I did this run.
I don't know
And
how
it is 28 weeks, right? So plan
A long plan.
you said you felt fresh. I don't know how fresh I felt finishing the marathon.
You smelled fresh.
I did not feel fresh finishing that race. But
Poor Carly got all the hugs at the end from all of us.
Right?
so-
I was so excited though.
I think I
ran
told
across
Carly,
the fish line
back
and
up
look,
to your
Carly's
own person
yelling.
that you don't want to smell this.
I came and ran and gave her a hug, and I'm like,
Oh, it
poor
was so worth
Carly.
it. It was so worth it.
but
But that Galloway plan, like I was never a runner, ever. I tried the couch to 5K so many times, but every time I would get to that 20-minute run, I would look at it and go, nope, I can't do that. That's crazy. But being able to look at that Galloway plan, even though it's a 28-week plan, I did it. But looking at it and going, oh, okay, like it's just a 30-minute run 2 days a week. And then the weekend runs or the long run that you have each week, because you only run 3 days a week. The long run, it'll go like 4 miles one week, and then it goes, 7 miles the next week, and then it goes back down to 5, and then it goes up. So you're always like just increasing by a mile or two, and it doesn't seem that overwhelming. It doesn't seem that daunting. And suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, I just ran 10 miles. Holy cow. How did that happen? But it's very manageable. And I like how it builds up, but then backs off and then builds up again. It messes with your brain in a good way.
the one
And
thing
it
about
still gives you time too to work in
Yeah.
strength training, things like yoga, flexibility, stretching, rolling, all that type of stuff that you need to do to complement your running. It gives you time to do that, right? Without, like you said, without completely taking over your life.
Yes.
So
and
that's one of
recovery.
the things, because you need that,
Yeah.
because you'll get injured and burned out pretty quickly if you're out there running 6 days a week and you're not doing the stretching and the other activities that you
Right.
need.
The other thing I liked about the Galloway plan is a big part of finishing any race, but especially the longer races, is the mental side of it. And the Galloway plan will take you up to a full actual beyond the point that you need to go. So you know that 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out, you've made it across that finish line already. So you know that you can accomplish that distance. If it's the first time you ever do it, it's a huge mental hurdle to cross, because you start to get into some of those distances and you're like, I'm done. But you're like, all right, I've done this in training. I can get through this. So that's the other good thing about the Galloway plan is you actually exceed the limits that you're actually going to do ahead of time.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was going to ask you to that point. How many of you actually have done the entire Galloway plan for Dopey, for whatever?
I did not for Dopey, but I have for the marathon individually. And then I knew going into Dopey that I know what it feels like to finish a marathon. So I stopped about 20 weeks out because I ended up getting sick in December.
Yeah.
So I didn't do the whole Dopey one, but I knew what it was like to finish it because I did the whole Galloway plan for a marathon the year before.
Yeah, I asked that because my first Dopey, I ended up with the flu right around Christmas time, and it really derailed my training. So I didn't do the full Dopey, training plan. And then this last one I had an injury and I got sick, and I got sick again. I had COVID right before, I was just cleared to be out in the wild whenever I went to Disney. And so I was in a weakened state, but like you had said, I'd previously done it. We'd also, Lonnie and I'd run with somebody. We talked about this before, somebody who hadn't done anything, hadn't run a step since Wine and Dine. And so I knew it was possible. It was tough. I would like to be a little bit better trained this next time. But to your point, I think that the Galloway plan more than prepares you for the actual races. Sure. And the whole experience. We've all talked about just running with people and being in a running club and all that motivation. You get by with a little help from your friends,
Yeah, because it's so nice to do the runs by yourself and the training runs, and then go and run with friends at the actual race.
Oh, they're terrible by yourself.
But Gene, I mean, I only followed the Galloway plan up to about the 23-mile run because I had COVID, and then same thing as you. I had an injury, and I called it quits and just hoped for the best. And luckily, you guys were there to pull me through.
Well, that's a good point because I mean, obviously you want to try to stick to the plan as much as you can, and things do come up. But just remember that just missing 1 week, if you're sore and hurt and you just can't do it, it's better to hold off. The midweek runs are important. The long runs are the ones that'll get you to the finish line. Try to make up those if you can, but if you can't, it's not the end of the world. And having done several of these, it's just the main thing I would say is focus on the long runs when you can. Get those in. If you have to wait a week, that's fine. Just listen to your body through the training. That's probably the best advice I can give, because there were a couple times where I didn't do that, and I lost 3 months of training because I pushed too hard through a maintenance run. So definitely listen to your body.
One of the things, Kevin, I think you make a good point, because when you look at these plans, it is a lot of miles and it's a lot of running. And give yourself some grace if you miss out on things. There will be injuries. And don't think, hey, I'm not going to do it because I didn't do this long run. I think for my second dopey, I had an injury, and when I did my mock dopey, I think I did a 5 mile, a 10 mile, and a 15 miles, and I was like, that's it, right? And I went in. Then you have the help of people that you meet there, and I kind of plowed through. And you remember, Kevin, that was 2019, I believe that one was. I'm trying to remember the day. It runs together, but it was the one where it was really hot, right? When it was like the surface of the sun.
2019 was hot. Oh yeah.
So was it 20?
2020.
2020 was
That was
very
when
hot.
the
Right
course,
before
right?
the world came to an end.
Yes. So it was literally, I remember walking on that one, and I remember Gene, unfortunately, he had trained but couldn't come. He had a family situation. And I remember him texting me saying, hey, man, how's it coming? And I was like, dude, I think I'm on mile like 18. And I'm like, dude, it is like the surface of the sun out here, right? So with that training, I mean, and look, was able to plow through and finish it with the help of some friends. Some lizards, ran up on me, and we kind of cruised in together. Cruise is I'm using that word, but it wasn't a cruise. It was more like it was kind of like a cruise, right? It wasn't a good one. It started out bad, but it went bad. But so give yourself some grace. Don't overdo it. Just do what you can, and then you'll do just fine. But I think that's one of the things when you look at dopey, because it can be a beast, right? To put all those miles on, and if you overdo it, you will hurt yourself.
Hey, Jeff, you mentioned the motivation, so much of it being in your mind and that kind of thing. Motivation comes and goes. And, a lizard at some point, I was having some problems. I joked about not having my mojo. And she said, miles are miles. Crawl them, walk them, whatever you got to do. It's about being on your feet. If you can't run them, walk them. And so I spent a lot of my dopey training up to probably 10 miles, maybe, I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but I walked a lot until I got my motivation back, and it wasn't physical. It was all in here. And so there are days I just don't feel like running, but I'd say I'll just go out and walk it. And a lot of times I end up running, but it's just what I tell myself, because it's a head game for me a lot of times.
Well, that was even this weekend for me. I mean, my flying pig training said 14 miles, and I went out there, and about mile 10, I was like, it's snowing, it's cold, it's March. What the heck? I was just in shorts a week ago. I don't want to be doing this. And I happen to be listening to the Be Our Guest podcast, because I had already listened to the Ducks podcast, of course. But it was Wade was on, and he was saying, I just finished a 17-mile run. And Tim and I had the pleasure of running with Wade at Wine and Dine. And I was like, well, gosh, if Wade just did 17, I've got to buck it up and do my 14. So, there's sometimes you just need that little motivation from a friend or an encouraging word. And listen, not every run's going to be a good run. It's just not. You're going to have good ones and bad ones. You're going to have ones that you want to quit before you even laced up your shoes. And with some of these bigger runs, that's just going to happen. But there's always someone there to pat you on the back and say, there's always next weekend. There's always next time. Like, don't give up. You can do it. So,
Jodie, I think that's a great segue. Speaking of motivation, to something that announcement that Jeff wants to make. Jeff.
So I think we've been talking heading into this dopey training that's starting, like we said, the end of June. So probably the Sunday, I'm guessing, prior to the first Tuesday run. We're going to get together each week for just like a live Facebook, YouTube stream of
unedited, uncut, unfiltered duck training craziness.
John can't be.
Oh,
John
man.
can't be allowed.
No,
Just joking,
I'm
John.
not.
Just
I'm not
joking.
allowed to be around children unfiltered.
But I
You
think
They
have
learn new
And
words.
drive past the school.
but we're gonna use that
The
time
kids.
to-
The kids learn new words.
That's true.
Yes, we will definitely just use that time though each week to kind of check in on everybody. If you can log in or see us if we're out there chatting. We're going to talk about how our training went the week before, what's coming on the upcoming training,
Mhm.
and just use it for accountability for each other,
Yep.
for the people who are going down there. And it's like I said, it's nothing big. It's 5-10 minutes each Sunday night, just recapping everything and looking forward to the next week and keeping everybody motivated. So
We'll put more word
That's
out on
great.
social media when we get close, just to remind everybody.
Mhm.
But I think that kind of wraps up today. We have so much more to talk about as far as Run Disney, but we're going to save it for a second show where we talk more tips and tricks, maybe with the races themselves, with packing, with how to handle each of those races, yada, yada. But right now, what we are going to bring to you is everybody's favorite, Quacking Up with the Ducks. So,
Is it anybody's favorite?
It's my
I
favorite.
love it. It's your
I love
favorite.
to make fun
That's
of
what
it.
counts. That's what counts.
So, Kevin, you want to start us off?
All right. So I know the weather's been going up and down a lot. You know, some places it's been freezing cold, like Jodie said. She's got snow in March. You know, it goes from 80 to 20 and everybody's getting sick. But, you know, I'm just so excited that it's spring. I'm so excited that I wet my plants.
That reminds me, I have to wet my plants later. Right after I ship my pants. We'll count that as mine.
wow.
Lonnie's giving me a suspicious look. Lonnie, you're up then.
Cricket.
Okay. So
About that.
I know Kevin talked about Star Wars, and since Star Wars was our first introduction to Run Disney, I got a Star Wars one for you. What was Lando's nickname before he became a skilled pilot?
I don't know.
Crash Dough.
I saw that.
Good one.
Jeff had to hold himself back. He
I
was
did.
ready to like steal your thunder.
I wanted to so bad.
I'm glad you didn't, Jeff. Let me have something.
All right, Mean Gene.
Yeah, so to keep on the theme of running, did y'all hear about it's pretty epic. It's a race between lettuce and a tomato. Did you hear about it?
No.
No? Well, it's not finished yet. I just checked. Lettuce is ahead, but it does look like the tomato just might catch up.
That was like a double. That was so good. All right, Crawl.
All right. So it got cold again here in Michigan, right? Jodie, same thing as in Ohio. We got some snow this week. And when it's cold, I like to make soup. So what happens if you boil a funny bone?
I don't know what
You get a laughing stock.
Charlie, I had one for you to follow up with our second favorite vegetable. I know I'm not at Disney with the dad's duck, but I had one for you.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so what's a plumber's favorite vegetable?
I don't know.
A plumber's favorite vegetable. A leek. See, I was cute, right? Not a sweet potato. Sorry, I know your love with sweet potatoes, but
All right, Jeff, you got a real one?
I do have one. So, do you know what color the wind is? Blue.
Wah, wah, wah.
All right, wait. Since Jeff knew what I was saying, I'm gonna give you another one, Jeff. Where does Princess Leia shop for Father's Day?
Oh, I
The
don't
Dark
know.
Mall.
I love it.
It's so bad, it's just horrible. Exactly.
So, because Lonnie shared a Star Wars one, you could cut this out if you want, but I have to share this. So we know that Mando is short for the Mandalorian, right?
Yes.
And what's R2 short for?
R2D2?
Okay, yeah. What's Luke short for?
I don't know.
A stormtrooper.
Nice.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I like that.
John's looking. You remember John?
I don't get it.
From the movie. When he walked in, the Princess Leia said, "You're kind of short for a stormtrooper."
Oh, okay.
You still don't get it. It's okay.
I don't know anything about Disney. It's
Watch the
okay.
movies, man. Watch the movies.
I've seen them and I like them, but I don't remember all of them.
Don't worry. It's strong as the nerd in us. Me and Gina.
For sure.
All right, guys. So that finishes up one more episode of Disney with the Ducks. That's episode number 9. Like, guys, we've almost made it to 10.
If
I
you
don't
count
know.
the intro episode, it's 10.
I know. That's almost amazing.
Awesome.
People are still listening. It's great. So if you want to find out more about Disney with the Ducks, you can always go to your podcatcher of choice and check us out, Disney with the Ducks. We are on Facebook, Disney with the Ducks. We've got a page and a group. The group is where you can go for all kinds of interactive community, family, flocking fun. The page is where you can go for episode drops and news. You can find us on Instagram at Disney with the Ducks. You can find us on Twitter at Disney with the D1. And be sure to check us out on YouTube. We've got all kinds of great regular podcast episodes out there. We also have our Cheese and Quackers dining reviews. We'll be throwing more of those out there. And we have our D News with D Ducks. You can check out every week for some Disney recap news. So that wraps it up for all of us here at the Ducks. We appreciate you listening, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
I'd rather kiss a Wookiee.
Kwaharini. Like to make soup. So what happens if you boil a funny bone?
I don't know what
You get a laughing stock.
Does Jeffrey Dahmer do that? All I could think about was cannibalism, you know?
We just lost
Tastes
all
like
our
chicken.
cannibalistic listeners on that one.
Well,
Too
following
many
me
murder
on this
podcasts.
one,
Sorry.
I guess we'll go.
Please, no, give me space.
No.
I gotta have to edit that out.
Since we're following Mean Gene and the Jeffrey Dahmer conversation, how about, does anybody know what kind of shampoo that Jeffrey Dahmer has in the shower? Head and
Head and
shoulders.
That's good.
But for real, I don't think we're using that one.
Nope.
I don't get.
Yeah.
How do you sell out a virgin
Only
waste?
X amount of
Yeah,
minutes.
right.
Look at Gene. Just wanted to add something. Yeah, right.
Anyway, that really,
What he
really
said.
rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm very upset about it still.